There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. Ruben, welcome. Let me unmute you if I can here. You should be able to unmute yourself now. There you are.
Got it.
Welcome.
Hola, hola.
You can see in the chat, if you can see the chat, you can see people checking in from all over the country.
Okay.
And it's we've already got 250 people signed in, and a few from Arizona, but I think the overwhelming majority will be from around the country. But welcome.
Gracias. Thank you so much.
It's good to see you, man.
Thanks, bud.
So listen, we're gonna get going here in just a minute, and I want to let people continue before we begin the program officially. Thank you for being on time, Ruben. It's a rare thing these days in this crazy business of ours, right?
Yeah, I still have like Marine mentality, so I should have. I feel late because I wasn't early.
We try to start and end on time here. It's a major part of our culture here, and so I'm
Yeah.
grateful for you doing that. And just as warm up, and then we'll get, because I'm going to record this, and so I'm going to have an official start here in about a minute, and because thousands of people will see it after tonight. Is that this community, and we only put out the notice on this on Tuesday night at 9 o'clock, and we had over 700 RSVPs. So hopefully we'll keep going, and we've raised $75,000 for you so far, just in 2 weeks. And showing the power and passion of this community. I'm really proud of everybody for stepping up here. And you're the only Senate race so far, or federal race, other than Biden-Harris, that we've, gotten into. So, thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. It's huge.
Yeah, there's some thumbs up. And let me get going, because we've got you for 20-25 minutes. I know how crazy you are.
Yeah. Well, I have a 8-month-old baby, so.
And I've got a 11-and-a-half-year-old bulldog who may be interfering with us in a minute. So
no problem.
Let me get going. Hey, everybody, this is Simon Rosenberg from Hopium Chronicles, my new home. And this is an exciting event tonight. Ruben Gallego is joining us. A great guy. We've known each other since he got to Congress. Consider him a friend. I'm really proud of him for coming out of the gate so strong in Arizona. And just 2 bits of background before we dive into the interview is that, Ruben, you should know that this community at Hopium is not just a community of Democrats. It's a community of doers, your kind of people, right? Ruben's a street guy and rolls up his sleeve and goes to work and is not scared of knocking on doors. I mean, he'll tell that story a little bit, I think, tonight. But this is a community that's been working hard to help us win elections all over the country. We began by helping flip the Wisconsin Supreme Court seat last April. We then were instrumental in helping Donna Deegan win in Jacksonville, Florida, the largest city in Florida, an unexpected victory, by the way. Many of our community then went to go work in Ohio, helping us get to 57% of 2 ballot initiatives that ended up taking away the 6-week abortion ban. Then we played a major role. We went in very, very hard and heavy into Virginia, where we not only kept the Senate, but we flipped the House. And today we now have our first African-American speaker in all of Virginia history. But we kept going after that. We then got involved in the Tom Keene race in Orlando, Florida, and helped flip a critical House seat. And then we played a really major role in New York 3. This community really rallied for Tom Suozzi. We raised over $100,000 just in a few weeks. And as you probably know, in that race, the community all across the country made 2 million phone calls for Tom Suozzi in 5 weeks. And every single Democratic household in the district got 5 handwritten postcards. It shows the power of this grassroots community that's growing all around the country. And since then, we've endorsed Joe Biden. We've raised over almost $200,000 for Joe Biden, and many people are already working on that campaign. We got involved early and heavy for Anderson Clayton in North Carolina, which is a state that I think is a great pickup opportunity for Joe Biden and in the governorship there. And now we're working with you. And what you should know is this community is not just about money. This is about people rolling up their sleeves, doing the work. And as your campaign gets integrated into the coordinated campaign, you're going to have a lot of remote workers, I think, for you. Because to me, everybody, the reason this race is so important to me, one is that there's only 7 presidential battleground states. This one is a place where we don't currently have a U.S. senator. We've just made extraordinary gains in Arizona in recent years that we need to protect, that Ruben was an architect of and played a major role in. We've got 2 House seats we can flip. We've got a state legislature we can flip. This is a state where your dollar goes so far the
And
calls,
abortion initiative.
and abortion initiative, right? And so this is one of these high, what I try to do, Ruben, for my community is I'm very cautious about making recommendations.
Right.
And so, but this one I'm in, we're all in with you, man. And so give us an update on the race. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, why are
Sure.
you running? What's motivating you? What are you seeing? The floor is yours. Take it away. Ruben, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Simon. And Simon, you and I have known each other since even before I was elected to
Yeah.
office. So before I was in the state house, when you came by and we're talking to Latino community, Latino leaders, and I think I was one of the more frank ones back in my day.
I actually remember that meeting because
Yeah,
you,
you're at the Dem
yeah,
party, right?
yeah, I know, yeah, you got in my face a little bit, which is, which is why we're buddies, Ruben, because you're a warrior and a fighter, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what I always love about you, right? Is like you
A
don't leave
lot,
it.
a lot of my friends were like trying to say very gently, Simon, that's not a good idea. That's really not a good idea. And I went directly to Simon, like, it's a fucking horrible idea, Simon. I'm sorry. Part of my language, but for some of
Yeah.
that know me, that's it's
Yeah.
sometimes when I need to cut to the chase, I will
Yeah.
speak a little. And now please tell me if I'm talking too low. I'm in an apartment that my wife and I rent here in DC, and my daughter is directly upstairs, and she just went to bed. So
You're doing
if I,
great. You're
yeah, so I
doing
just
great.
want to make sure I keep the tone the right way, or else I will be something will be thrown at me by for good reason.
You're
So
doing great.
look, I joke with Simon, but I am very proud of the work that a lot of us have been doing in Arizona. And I think if there was no Hopium organization in Arizona for many years, I think I saw Don Teo that just signed on. She was part of that old crew. We were the group that when Arizona was this red state that really hung on every day and said, if we work this, we can change this state. And in some regard, what Hopium is doing and what Simon's doing is they're going and they're picking these races to show that there is success, and success leads to kind of a national and bigger movement. That's exactly what I did in Arizona by picking particular races that I knew can prove really that Arizona was a swing state. Now, this all really started post 2010, post SB 1070. And it was really younger Latinos and Democratic activists that kind of got into the system to really fight SB 1070, because what we had felt was that a lot of the kind of old guard leadership, as well as even kind of the Chamber of Commerce that was supposed to be, ostensibly pro sanity, was protecting us, and they didn't. So what we started to do after, especially we lost SB 1070 and after the 2010 elections, which we got wiped out in Arizona, people forget this, now knowing the history of Arizona, is that we're going to go and pick races to show that where there was pro-Latino, pro-democratic power. And so one of the first races we picked was a city council race that had always been represented by a Republican. Even though the district was 70% Latino, even though it was majority Democratic registered district, we had always lost because the elections were always in the off-year election. And I had, at this point, kind of became very adept at winning these elections. And so what we did is we ran a very popular firefighter, Latino firefighter, for that office. And what we did was we were able to merge kind of the union movement with this Latino. And then we brought in a lot of my volunteers. And for those that know from Arizona, I have a very strong grassroots Latino population, young men and women that, well, now they're in their early 30s, that will hit the doors no matter what, no matter the year, no matter the temperature, they're out there. And so we hit the doors very hard. This is just, basically, I would say less than a year after SB 1070 passes, and we increased turnout in that district by 400%, shocked the world. We, took out someone that was considered an establishment candidate, everything you could ever imagine, and really started turning the page. Like there was articles in the New York Times and Time Magazine written about this candidate and about the movement. And so we started continue building that. And a lot of those younger leaders then started kind of branching out onto their own and creating their own different movements, right? Some of them you guys have probably have heard, like Some of them took over Mi Familia Vota. Some of them are taking over and are in charge of Lucha. You have people that are in charge of the Democratic Party now, for example. The chairwoman was very involved in this. And so we've kind of continued on and on building this movement and kind of kept building out and kind of leaning on successes to start convincing the rest of the country, hey, that Arizona is a swing state. And for many years, I was like the guy that would go across the whole country, try and encourage people, like, hey, give us money. You give us money, I'll give you wins, right? And then every time someone would say, like, no, 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 you guys can't do it. You guys, I'm like, well, I can't do it because we have no money. You give me the money, I'll give you wins. And I just could not get it done until we really started taking over cities and legislators and school boards that we hadn't. And then 2016 turns around. 2016, though we lost for Secretary Clinton, was a very pivotal year in a lot for a lot of us because we saw something that we knew was there. We defeated Sheriff Joe Arpaio, and that was the key. I had been running campaigns against Sheriff Joe Arpaio since 2008 in Arizona. Some ones that weren't funded in 2012. It was a very well funded one. I actually raised money for an IE. We got pretty close with a candidate that didn't have the money or the support. By 2016, though Hillary Clinton loses in 2016 in Maricopa County and the state, unfortunately, we get Sheriff Joe Arpaio defeated. A candidate, had been in office for more than 30 years. One of the most popular candidates. People would travel all over the country to get his support, and we defeated him there. And what we saw was that there was a coalition that does exist in Arizona of Latinos, working class union people, and we have those in Arizona, as well as moderate Republicans and just moderates in general that just want good governance. And Sheriff Joe Arpaio by this point had been sued so many times. There had been so much malfeasance, had been accused of racial profiling and in some way or another convicted of racial profiling, wasted billions of dollars and neglected, child molesters to, chase taco vendors, right? All these things. And so when we saw that 2018 was now our marker, I had always said and predicted for many years that 2020 was a year. Yeah, it was a year that we're going to change it. But by 2016, we saw that 2018 was our opportunity. It was our opportunity because we've seen the coalition. Now we need to build that coalition. And so what happens is after 2016, with Hillary Clinton losing and Donald Trump, just becoming as horrific as we all predicted, it accelerated something that we all saw later. It accelerated this coalition, the new Democratic coalition, which was high income, highly, college educated, English or people in general, and Latinos together creating a winning coalition. So 2018, coincidentally, that is when Kyrsten Sinema wins. But that's also when we have 3 other statewide seats turn in Arizona. And if you look back at the autopsy, the good autopsy, if there's such a thing, they always say well, the reason Democrats won that year is because they got all this crossover support from Republicans that were mad about Donald Trump. Partly true. But what people forget is that in 2014, which is horrible turnout, Latino electorate in 2014, the Latino percentage electorate was 9%. By 2018, we moved it to 15%. So we moved it from 9% to 15% of the electorate, and the Democrats were yielding 70 to 75% of that growth, right? And so that's where we started really killing it, is because we had enough crossover support to matter, but it was Latinos that were surging and continue to surge. Now we still surge still. To this day, this long, big narrative of Latinos are losing, they're running away from the Democratic Party. And I'm not saying that's not true in some areas. In Arizona, we're not seeing that because we as Democrats and we as Latino activists and activist groups, we fight for the Latino vote in Arizona. We talk to them year long. We are actively campaigning. And so while there is natural slippage, we're slipping somewhat because we're just getting bigger, which is a good thing. But we still have a big support. And this is why we've been able to win in some hard years into 2020. In 2022, we took the governor's mansion. We don't have a mansion in Arizona, but we just say governor's mansion. Might be a governor's condo, knowing Arizona. We have we took the Secretary of State's race. We took the Attorney General's race. We missed taking the State House by 1 seat. We missed taking the State Senate by 1 seat. We lost 2 potential pickups in Congress by less than a combined 6,000 votes with very little national, very little national. So that's the story of Arizona, right? So I'm sorry taking so long, but just to understand, like Arizona, the Democrats and all of our allied organizations were fighters. This is why we win. We don't even have a registration advantage. Just to be clear, Republicans have 200,000 more registered Republicans than Democrats. The reason we win is because we build coalitions. And this is the reason why I'm beating Kari Lake. Kari Lake wants to only appeal to MAGA voters. I want to talk to all Arizona voters. And we are. I'm going to the most Republican areas of the state and talking to them about what they want to talk about, right? When Kari Lake goes to some of those MAGA places on this state, she wants to talk about MAGA subjects. When I go to Western Arizona, I talk about water because they're about to, potentially lose some generational farms because Republicans don't want to regulate groundwater usage. But I'm the one who's willing to go and have that conversation with them about how we could help them keep their generational farms, how we could help invest using federal dollars because their Republican areas won't spend money on this to bring more water infrastructure in these areas. We're having those conversations. Even when we talk about the border, it's a very, very hard situation that we're dealing with. It is chaotic. It is causing people to lose trust in government because that situation is hard. But we go to the border and we talk to our border sheriffs, we talk to our border mayors, we talk to the nonprofits that are working down there, and we try to figure out, hey, let's figure out how to help you as a small town that is dealing with a federal problem from a broken immigration system that is not your fault, right? And I will sit in those meetings and I will get yelled at, but they know at the end of the day that they still call me, right? And so even now to this day, I'll have border mayors texting me when they hear there's a problem, when they hear a rumor that the port's going to get shut down. And by the way, that's the other thing people forget. When we're talking about the border, it's not just that we're worried about the surge of migrants, asylum seekers coming to the border. We're also worried about the border ports shutting down because we receive a lot of business from the ports of entries going back and forth, including Mexican nationals that we rely on for labor in Arizona to come work, most of our farms. And when you see the East Coast TV media, and I'm talking left media and right media, talking about the border, they only focus on what's happening with the crisis with our asylum seekers and not like the whole scope of what's happening down there. And there's a very, this is very odd, I think, for people to hear, but, while there is a crisis at the border, our border communities are actually very safe too. And, we have to make sure, well, we don't have to, but as a campaign, we make sure that we talk about the fact that these border communities are part of America. It's not fair that Kari Lake tries to scare people about these areas when these people, have businesses down there. They want to continue to grow their businesses. It's a booming area. There's houses that are getting built there all the time. When I go to Nogales, one of the ports of entry, of course, they're concerned about border crossing, but they're also concerned of the fact that they don't have enough infrastructure to deal with all the business coming in from Mexico, that there's not enough chillers to deal with all the fruit and vegetables that are coming in from Mexico. And they're not able to keep up with the pace of demand when it comes to business, right? That's the nuance no one talks about. That's the nuance that we talk about. And then we actively are just going and being, present in some of the areas that normally aren't present. And I'm not just talking about red areas. We're present in some of the bluest areas of the state where there isn't a Latino that has ever come and talked to him about running for office. I had the first ever all Spanish town hall in Arizona history for a Senate race. I can't really speak for other races, but for sure for a Senate race, where we had a town hall. We invited what we thought were largely Spanish dominant speakers in an area that is largely Latino. And I took questions in Spanish and I answered in Spanish because we want to make sure that good American citizens that just have not been able to master English can feel excited and involved in their government. And this is something that I learned personally. My grandparents, God bless their souls, are no longer with me. Both immigrants from Colombia, both became citizens, both voted all the time. Neither of them were Spanish. We're both just Spanish dominant. They just were not proficient enough in English. They could speak English, obviously, for work, for getting by, but they just were never able to master English enough for them to have true political communications. And so this is why I have those conversations. And we're doing even crazier things. There's a guy named Senor Foodie in Arizona that literally goes and rates Mexican food taco stands, and it has a huge following on Instagram, especially among young Latinos. So he and I went and hit a bunch of taco stands together, right? So we're making ourselves available to everybody. In about not this weekend, but next weekend, I'm going to be visiting Indian tribe that is on the north side of the Grand Canyon, the Paiute tribe. In order for me to get there, I have to fly from Phoenix to St. John's and then drive St. John's in Utah and then drive 2 hours south. And we're going to go there and we're going to ask for people's support and the vote. We're one of the first elected officials to actually go and campaign for that vote. So this is the type of campaign that we're running. We're going everywhere. We're trying to talk to everybody, and we're talking to them on Arizona values, not the MAGA extreme value, not DC political speak, and it's going to make a difference. This is why, we're going to try to go and not just win small. We're going to go the Simon Rosenberg route, like get the coalition together to win big. We can do that. We see it in the numbers. We see it in our polling. We see it in our focus groups. We have the momentum, we have the money, and we have the motivation. All the three M's that we need to win and win big. And when I do that, I'll take the president with me over the top, and I'll make sure that we take Democrats up and down the ticket. So, everything you guys are done is helping. Right now, for example, we're the only campaign on TV in Arizona right now. And we're running a positive ad. We're putting, I think, $2 million just this month, positive 60-second ad on me so people get to know me. So we're going for it. We're going big, and we need your help in that process. So Simon,
yeah, no, listen, Ruben, that was awesome. Let me say a couple of things. One is we've shared the ad and we've been watching it
Oh, you
in the
have? Okay.
Hopium community. Yeah, and it's a great ad, by the way.
Gracias.
And it's worthy of putting $2 million behind. How has the race changed since Sinema announced that she's not running? Because obviously, I want everyone to say, I'm going to say this, and he doesn't have to say this, that no one really knew what was going to happen here, right? This was in a very unusual situation. Arizona is not a huge state, right? People know each other, and
Know each other. They do.
yeah, right, know each other well, right? And Cinema, and so Ruben got in, right, and wasn't immediately universally. There was questions in the Senate, and because of decorum and all the things that happened in the Senate, and Ruben's strong showing is a central reason why, in my view, that Cinema decided not to run, because we didn't necessarily have to field a Democratic candidate. And Ruben, through all the story you just heard, right, that he laid out for you and what he's done, has did a phenomenal job to help push Cinema out of the race. And so I think, Ruben, one of the questions we've been getting is, how have things changed since she's announced that she's not running? How do you feel? Have you raised more money? Are you getting more
Yeah.
grassroots support? What's happening on the ground?
Well, we've always had grassroots support just
Yeah.
because I built my own grassroots, and
Yeah.
that's something that I always knew I had to do just because of the nature of politics in Arizona, that sometimes campaigns would go, campaigns would leave. So you need to always kind of be self-sufficient. And like for me, I mean, how I've always operated in this world is that I've always had to kind of jump with fate and hope that I land. I've had no choice, right? Like, when you're the son of immigrants and you're the first to go to college, I had no one else to talk to about going to college. I had to figure it out, right? And I took a bigger leap by going to an Ivy League, and no one in my family had even gone to college, but I went there, and guess what? I landed, and I struggled at Harvard. But I figured it out. I knew I was going to work this out. I knew I could work harder than at whatever I need to do it, and do it. Just same in the Marine Corps. No one ever joined the military in the Marines. I joined the infantry, went to boot camp, got my ass kicked, went to war, got my ass kicked again at war, and like I had to, I had to go. And so when I ran for Senate, um, I knew that I had to move. The biggest thing that I noticed and I saw when Kirsten switched parties wasn't that she was vulnerable to getting beaten by a Democrat, was that she was going to lose the Senate seat no matter what. If I had never run for the Senate, someone else would have run that would probably have been a weaker candidate, and that's when a Republican would absolutely have won. I entirely believe that for a long time that Senator Sinema was going to stay in, and we were going to have to go all the way to the end, and we would have won. I didn't know when I jumped in who the Republican was going to be. It could have been Doug Ducey. It could have been one of more, someone that's considered more mainstream. But I had faith that everything that I had worked and everybody I had worked with in Arizona for decades, people that we started together on the protest line that are now elected officials, that are now running C4s, community leaders that I had worked with forever, that were going to back me no matter what. And that's actually what did happen. So, I'm telling you where we are now, but let me tell you what happened on January 23rd. On January 23rd, when I ran for office, I threw my first event in Tucson and it was packed. And it was people from all walks of life, people that had helped turn Arizona blue, people that had helped turn just the state even more moderate. We had elected officials that were willing to endorse us, mayors, city council members, state reps, state senators, union leaders, against a sitting incumbent because they knew me. They knew that I've worked with them. They knew that I can be trusted. They knew that I would do everything I could possibly to win. And then, even, and more from a personal level, I knew I had even better backup at every stop on my first kickoff week, I should say, it was 48 hours. We went from, for those that are here from Arizona, we went from Tucson to Casa Grande to Phoenix to Flagstaff to Navajo Nation to the White River Apache. We did that in 48 hours. And at every stop, I was introduced by a Marine that I serve with that is like a brother to me, John Bailon, who is Navajo. And it was very special for me. And I think, in a way, like a way for people to understand me more, that the person that was introduced to me wasn't a politician, wasn't anybody else. It was someone who trusted me because we trusted each other with our lives. And there was nothing more special than going to the Navajo Nation with him, where he was able to introduce me to his friend and his family in Navajo. That's the type of campaign we're running. This is the campaign that is very personal, and not personal to me. It's very personal to Arizonans. So what's happened since Sinema dropped out? We've gotten the establishment support. We've had, all the senators come on board. We have received a surge in donations, and it is greatly appreciated. Really has been great. We're able to effectively get on TV and stay on TV and feel confident about that. And now we're seeing what I would say the people that have been kind of either in the Kirsten Sinema camp or I'm not going to make a decision, come over. And then when I'm talking about those people, those are the people that are like members of, different city councils that are Republicans in Arizona that are now coming on board and supporting us. There'll be some mayors coming on board of big cities that are Republican, that we think well, big cities for Arizona, that will be supporting us. We have, outreach now from Mormon leadership, that are we're starting to talk to because they don't feel comfortable in the Kerry Lake world or the Donald Trump world. And so we're effectively reaching out to them, and we're also not stopping there. We're reaching out to the business community of Arizona, who had a great relationship with Kirsten Sinema, and we don't fault them for that. We were talking to them even throughout the whole campaign, making sure they knew that we were someone that you could also talk to. We may not agree 100% on things, but we were people you could talk to. We were the people that continue doing the great growth of Arizona, the CHIPS Act. We have the largest growth, by the way, in electric vehicles in the country, and batteries also in the country. We love that type of growth. You're not going to see that from Kerry Lake. Kerry Lake hates the CHIPS Act. She hates our EV capabilities. She talks about, fracking. She talks about oil as if we have any of that in Arizona. We don't, by the way. There's not one oil drill in Arizona. So, but the business community understands and appreciates it. They understand that I have an Arizona business economic mindset. She has a mindset like I'm going to hit the MAGA talking points about the economy, And if she thinks that's going to work with Arizona voters, she's got to get a lot. She's going to get a big surprise.
Well, I hope everyone realizes, as Ruben said, what an extraordinary opportunity we have with his candidacy this year, and how helping him helps Joe Biden, helping him helps the congressional races that we need to win, helping him makes it more likely we flip the state legislative chambers, because he's going to be this engine that's going to be pushing the whole enterprise forward. And this is one of the reasons why we've gotten behind him, because like Anderson Clayton in North Carolina, who is a very special person in a very opportune year where we have these extremists running statewide in North Carolina, this is also an area where we've had tremendous success in recent years, but we can go even further, because
Mhm.
as we talk about here in Hopium a lot, is that the escalating extremism of the right is creating unprecedented opportunities for us to grow and expand and take stuff away from them. Arizona is a great example of this. There's so much we can gain this year if we are successful here, more so than almost any other state in the country. And so the opportunity, as Ruben laid out, is huge. And it's really important that all of us get behind here. Ruben, I will say, I know people have been giving here tonight. There have also been people in the chat
Thank
figuring out
you.
how to volunteer. What I've been told by the campaign is that the campaign has a volunteer section where you can sign up and offer yourself and specify what you want to do. They will be
Exactly.
standing up as they get more integrated into the coordinated campaign. They'll be standing up to kind of mobilizing phone and texting stuff that has become common around the country in the coming weeks and months, to allow all of you who want to engage in that way. That will be coming online soon. But you also, in addition to folks, what you were doing in the chat tonight, feel free, if you want to help Ruben, in addition to donating through the Hopium link, is to go to the site itself and volunteer and offer your help. Ruben, I know we had a time limit here, so I just want to say, first of all, you were great. People are fired up. We've got 400 people right now,
Yeah.
which is a
Yeah.
tremendous showing. Final thoughts. I mean, how does it feel on the ground? I mean, what are the burning issues right now that people are talking to you the most about?
Mhm.
What should we take away, from what you're learning just recently? Because there is a sense nationally that the State of the Union speech really helped engage the Democratic coalition in a more direct way. I mean, we've seen now Biden's
Mhm.
numbers coming up. I mean, this is clear, this is happening. We always thought that would happen, right? The Democratic coalition was wandering a little bit, and we didn't have an election. It's not that surprising, but there's now clear data that the race has shifted 2 points perhaps towards Biden in recent weeks. And we've also now seen his approval rating and some of the polls come up pretty substantially. What are you feeling? Help us understand what you're seeing on the ground. What are the issues that are biting? And maybe we can wrap it up so we don't wake up your baby, by the way.
Well, so I think the State of the Union was a tone change, but I also think that what happened right after the State of the Union is also important, is when Donald Trump got the official nomination. Like those two things made a lot of people, and this is, we have to remember this, like I'm very lucky. I live in South Phoenix, Arizona, right? So part of Phoenix called South Phoenix, right? My existence is very normal. People around me do not talk about politics every day. I go to for those that are in Arizona, I go to the Fry's on 24th Street and Baseline, right? The Target also is there. Like my Starbucks is like right on that corner. And for those that in that area, my favorite restaurant is Mesquite on 3rd Street and Baseline. Great breakfast if you want to go, right? This is the world I live in. It's a very normal world. It's actually great getting out of this bubble here, and also just out of in generally a political bubble. Most people don't talk about politics. They just don't. And that's actually a good thing. We should actually enjoy the fact that Americans, this is not their obsession, right? Um, but when they do snap in, then they see reality. And so they have these moments of snapping in. State of the Union, snapping, watched, one of the most watched State of the Unions, in modern history. When you see that it's Donald Trump finally being the nominee, these are the things where Americans are like, okay, I need to actually pay attention because this is an issue. Um, I feel that there has been a shift change, and it's for a couple of reasons. Number one, yes, people are kind of starting to pay attention. Number two, I think the administration has moved from we're the good administrators doing our job to now we're going to go campaign and talk about what we're going to do. We're going to put the effort in. We're going to actually say what we did in the past and we're going to do in the future, right? And that's what's taking, getting people to actually start moving, right? And then we're also talking about the danger, right? Do you want to put the hands of government in the, again, into someone like Donald Trump and Carrie Lake, right? Someone who brags about getting rid of Roe v. Wade, and someone like Carrie Lake who wants to actually go even further than just overturning Roe v. Wade. This is a thing. And so, what are people talking about in Arizona? No matter where I talk about, no matter where I go, abortion is the number one thing. It just is. And as much as a lot of us pundits want to talk about this, want to talk about it, this is going to be an issue. Is this going to be an election again about abortion? Who do you trust on abortion rights? And so we're very like in my campaign, we try not to use the word choice or choose. We're very clear. This is about abortion. And I encourage Democrats not to punt around on this. Be very clear, because if you think voters out there understand who's pro-abortion rights and who's not, you are wrong. The focus groups I've seen, I was surprised when we saw that people did not know that I have 100%, pro, abortion right record, and that people did not know, Carrie Lake's stances. So make sure that we are very clear who is the party that's going to give women the right to an abortion, right? We do that, you're halfway there. Number two, we need to talk about the economy. We need to talk that we're the party that is actually trying to fix your everyday problem. The economy is doing better. We're not there yet, but we're the only ones who are willing to fight corporations to stop their greed. We're the only ones that are trying to get a child tax credit. So most families in this country, when I say like almost 90% of families with kids, are going to get a little help so that way they can, get some breathing room, right? We're the only party that's going to help when it comes to, childcare. These are the things we need to be talking about when we're talking about how we're going to fix this economy. And then lastly, the border. It's not, it's actually very interesting to me. The border is not the top issue among voters in Arizona. I feel like it's actually a bigger issue in other states, but I think it's also because we're more knowledgeable when it comes to the border. The border, if you leave my house on a good day with no traffic, I could get down to the border in 2.5 hours. But that being said, doesn't mean that and I say we as elected officials, can't honestly say that we have to say that there's a crisis, because there is a crisis at the border, but we're the only party that's actually looking actively for solutions. The Republican Party, led by Donald Trump and Carrie Lake, just vetoed a really good opportunity for us to bring some solution to that border. It's not going to be, the end all be all that fixes it. We were actually willing and go as far as we could to start that process versus, people like Donald Trump and Carrie Lake that just want to keep it as a political issue. So, engaging in that fight matters. And then lastly, there's a very Arizona thing also, water. And you don't want to have a conversation with water. Every politician from Arizona is a water expert, and I will keep you on here for a long time, and I will write a thesis for you. But just know that Arizonans, when it comes to Arizona, the people you trust for water are the Democrats, because we're the only ones that are willing to, fight big ag, fight out of state corporations, fight out of country corporations that are just pilfering and plundering the water of some of our rural areas. And you know what? Those rural areas are Republican, but they deserve to be able to keep their generational farms and not lose their farms to these big agricultural companies that as soon as the wells dry up, they'll leave. And these poor families will end up being stuck with land that is worthless because, this companies just could care less.
So Ruben, thank you. And
Yeah.
we all are here for you. This is just the beginning, right? And this is my effort to get our broad community of now 50,000 members of the Hopium community engaged in this race. I am coming out to the Maricopa County Democratic Party fundraiser on April 18th. It's going to be
Oh, excellent.
one of my first in-person events that I've done since I started Hopium. I'm really excited. Hopefully we can do some things together.
Give
It's
me a
the
heads
100th,
up, yeah.
yeah, it's the 100th anniversary of the Maricopa Democratic Party, Maricopa County Democratic Party. And I'll be coming to their evening fundraiser on April 18th. And hopefully we'll be able to do some other events around that. And for
Yeah.
those of you in Arizona, you need to come and be part of that event. And hopefully you'll be there as well, Ruben. But listen, I'm so proud of you. I mean, we have known each other for a long time. And you know that I've worked very hard in my own career to help
Mhm.
create the opportunity for Democrats to really lean into this, the Hispanic opportunity. And I'll be
Mhm.
talking more to all of you. And what Ruben said tonight was very important. I want to just put an exclamation point on this because we get a lot of questions about this. You know, the success that we've had with Latino voters over the last 25 years has been, to me, the most successful party-wide project in the whole country.
Mhm.
The guy who's been the exemplar of this, the guy who's really created the model for how this needs to happen in other communities is Ruben Gallego. And he's been an amazing guy to watch, to follow, to support, to partner with. You know, with flipping Arizona, you know, New Mexico, first California went, and then New Mexico, and then
Mhm.
Colorado, right?
I love.
Nevada is still bouncing around. And the fact that we're doing better in Arizona now than we were in Nevada, like nobody thought that would happen, right? I mean, we all knew.
I did.
And I know you did, but I can't tell all of you how remarkable it is, how successful we've been in Arizona in recent years, given that this was the state of Goldwater and the state of John McCain, and you know, all we go down the history. This has been a remarkable achievement. And you're sitting here with the guy that has been one of the main architects of pulling this off. We've come so far. I'm so proud of you. But now all of us, we have to finish the job. We got to get this guy elected. It's really critical. So please volunteer, please give. Ruben, hopefully we'll get you back in a few months to do a check-in with everybody and tell
Love
us how
to.
it's going. But I'm very excited about this opportunity, and we're all in Arizona. I mean, this is going to be one of the 2 or 3 states that we just go all in on in this election. It's where our money's going to go the furthest, where we have the best opportunities, and frankly, we're the best partners and the best candidates to work with in the country. So, Ruben, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Simon. I'll see y'all. Buenas noches.
Okay, see you. Bye-bye, everybody.